The sun baked the wooden planks of Main Street as Elijah wiped down his barber chair. Dust motes danced in the afternoon light slanting through his shop window. He paused, straight razor in hand, and gazed at his reflection in the cracked mirror. 32 years old, but the gold rush had aged him beyond his years. Lines etched around his eyes told stories of squinting into the California sun, of watching men come and go, chasing dreams that mostly turned to dust. Outside, the saloon erupted in laughter. Someone had struck it rich, or was pretending to. Elijah returned to his razor, running it along the leather strop with practiced strokes. The blade caught the light, flashing like a silver fish in a stream. The bell above his door jingled. Elijah didn't look up immediately. "Be with you in a moment," he said, finishing his 20th stroke on the strop. When he turned, the words died in his throat. A man stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the harsh sunlight. Tall and lean, wrapped in a dust-covered duster that had once been black. But it wasn't his clothes that froze Elijah's blood. It was what covered the lower half of his face. Scorpions. A writhing mass of them, their tails curled and ready, clinging to the man's skin where a beard should be. "I require a shave," the stranger said, his voice surprisingly gentle. Elijah's hand tightened around the razor. His heart hammered against his ribs. "Run," it told him. "Run now." But something in the stranger's eyes, tired, knowing eyes, held him in place. "Please," the stranger added. "It's been a long journey." Elijah swallowed hard. "Take a seat." The mining town of Redemption had sprung up overnight when gold was discovered in the nearby hills. What began as a collection of tents had transformed into a proper town with a main street, a church that doubled as a schoolhouse, and establishments that catered to men's vices and necessities alike. Elijah's barbershop sat between the general store and the assayer's office. It was a simple place: one chair, one mirror, shelves lined with tonics and oils, and photographs of clean-shaven men pinned to the walls as testament to his skill. He had arrived 5 years earlier, after the fire that took his family home in Ohio. After Sarah. The gold rush offered not wealth to Elijah, but distance from memories that burned hotter than any flame. Men came to his chair dirty and left clean. They talked while he worked, sharing dreams of striking it rich, of the women they'd left behind or hoped to attract. Elijah listened but rarely spoke. His hands were steady, his cuts precise. In a town built on chaos and chance, he offered consistency. Now those steady hands trembled as the stranger settled into his chair. "You're afraid," the stranger observed, his eyes meeting Elijah's in the mirror. "Never seen a beard quite like yours," Elijah managed, trying to sound casual as he draped a cloth over the man's chest. A scorpion skittered across the cloth. Elijah flinched. "They won't harm you unless I ask them to," the stranger said. "My name is Jasper." Elijah nodded, not trusting his voice. He mixed lather in a cup, the familiar motions calming him slightly. "You've been here a while," Jasper said. It wasn't a question. 5 years. "Found your fortune yet?" Elijah shook his head. "Not looking for gold. Everyone's looking for something." Elijah didn't respond. He approached with the brush, then hesitated. "How do I?" Jasper closed his eyes. "They'll move for you. They know when it's time." As if on command, the scorpions parted, revealing dark, weathered skin beneath. They crawled up to his cheekbones, leaving his jaw and neck exposed. Elijah applied the lather with a shaking hand. The scorpions watched him, their tiny eyes gleaming in the lamplight. "Where are you from?" Elijah asked, desperate for normalcy. "Everywhere. Nowhere." Jasper's voice was soft, almost musical. "I walk where the wind takes me." "And it brought you here?" "To Redemption?" "Names have power. Barber. This town promises something it likely can't deliver." Elijah picked up his razor. "Hold still now." He made the first stroke, scraping away lather and stubble. The scorpion shifted but remained in place, watching. With each careful pass of the blade, Elijah's confidence grew. This was what he knew: the angle of the razor, the stretch of skin, the transformation of a man under his hands. "You have a gentle touch," Jasper said. "Rare in these parts. Man comes for a shave, deserves care. Even when his beard moves?" Elijah met his eyes in the mirror. "Especially then." For the first time, Jasper smiled. The scorpions rippled with the movement. The next morning, Elijah opened his shop to find 3 men waiting outside. They weren't there for haircuts. "Heard you served that scorpion devil yesterday," said the first, a burly miner with a pickaxe resting on his shoulder. "I serve anyone who sits in my chair," Elijah replied, unlocking his door. "Folks are talking," said the second man, thinner but with hard eyes. "Say he's cursed. Say he brings bad luck to any town he visits." I cut hair and shave beards. I don't trade in gossip. The third man stepped forward. Elijah recognized him as Whitaker, who owned the saloon. That man's not welcome here. Those who help him ain't welcome either. Elijah met his gaze. My door's open to all who need my services. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. They left, muttering threats. Elijah's hands shook as he arranged his tools. He hadn't stood up to anyone since arriving in Redemption. He kept his head down, his opinions to himself. Why risk his place for a stranger? Yet something about Jasper had struck him. Perhaps it was the weariness in his eyes, or the gentle way he spoke despite his fearsome appearance. Or perhaps Elijah recognized another soul running from something. The bell jingled, and Jasper entered. Today his coat was open, revealing a faded waistcoat and a silver watch chain. The scorpion seemed more settled on his face, arranged in a pattern that almost looked deliberate. You're brave to return, Elijah said, gesturing to the chair. I heard the welcome committee outside. Jasper sat down. You didn't have to defend me. Wasn't defending you. Defending my right to choose my customers. Jasper smiled. A man of principle. Increasingly rare. As Elijah prepared his tools, Jasper studied the photographs on the wall. You've been many places. Those aren't mine. Previous owner's work. And your work? Where is it displayed? Elijah paused. In the faces of men walking these streets. Temporary art. Everything's temporary in a gold rush town. Jasper nodded. Yet you've stayed. Elijah didn't answer. He began the shave, focusing on the task rather than the conversation. The scorpions, he finally said. How did they become part of me? Jasper's eyes grew distant. A long story, involving a woman in New Orleans who practiced arts older than this country. She cursed you. I deserved worse. Elijah's razor paused. What did you do? I loved her sister. Then I left her. Jasper's voice was matter-of-fact. Each scorpion represents someone I've wronged. Some I abandoned. Some I betrayed. Some I loved too much or not enough. Elijah counted at least 20 scorpions. They're my reminder, Jasper continued. My penance. Can't be removed? Only when I've made amends. When I've balanced the scales. Jasper touched one of the larger scorpions gently. This one is Isabel, the woman I left at the altar in St. Louis. This smaller one is Thomas, a partner I cheated in a silver mine venture. And you're making amends? One by one. Trying to. Some are beyond reach now. Some won't accept my apologies. But I keep trying. Elijah finished the shave in silence, his mind racing. When he was done, Jasper paid him double the usual fee. Why redemption? Elijah asked as Jasper prepared to leave. Why come here? Jasper adjusted his coat. I'm looking for someone. A man named Edward Calloway. The name hit Elijah like a physical blow. Edward Calloway, the man who owned half the claims in the hills, who'd built the largest house in town, who walked these streets like he owned them. I know him, Elijah said carefully. I thought you might. Jasper tipped his hat. See you tomorrow, Barber. That night, Elijah couldn't sleep. He paced his small room above the barber shop, memories he'd long suppressed bubbling to the surface. Sarah in her blue dress, laughing as they planned their future. The letter from her brother about the opportunity out west, the chance to make their fortune before settling down. Edward Calloway's firm handshake and promises of partnership. The months of backbreaking work in the mine. The accident that collapsed their tunnel after they struck gold. Waking in the hospital to news that Calloway had claimed the strike as his own, that no one believed Elijah's story, that Sarah had fallen awaiting for him to return. By the time Elijah made it back to Ohio, Sarah was in the ground and his family home had burned in a mysterious fire. He'd returned west not for gold, but with nowhere else to go. And now Jasper was here, looking for Calloway. It couldn't be coincidence. The next day, whispers followed Elijah through town. People crossed the street to avoid him. No customers came to his shop. Only Jasper, arriving at his usual time, seemed unchanged. They fear what they don't understand, Jasper said, settling into the chair. They fear you, Elijah corrected. They fear what I represent. The consequences of one's actions catching up to them. Jasper's eyes met Elijah's in the mirror. Something you understand well. Elijah's hands stilled. What do you mean? I know about Sarah. About the claim Calloway stole from you. About the fire. The razor trembled in Elijah's grip. How? I make it my business to know the stories of the people I seek. And those connected to them. You're here for Calloway because of me? Jasper shook his head. I'm here for Calloway because of Calloway. He's one of mine. He touched a scorpion on his left cheek, a particularly aggressive-looking specimen. He took something precious from me, too. Years before he met you. Elijah resumed the shave, his mind racing. What will you do when you find him? Offer him a chance to make amends. And if he refuses? Jasper's eyes hardened. Then the Scorpions will have their due. That evening, as Elijah closed his shop, Whitaker and 5 other men blocked his path. Time for you to move on, Whitaker said. We don't want your kind here. My kind? Elijah asked, gripping his razor in his pocket. Men who consort with devils, another man spat. Calloway's offering a reward for information about your friend. Says he's a wanted man. Calloway's a liar, Elijah said, the words escaping before he could stop them. Whitaker stepped closer. Careful, Barber. Calloway runs this town. He runs it on stolen gold. My gold. The men exchanged glances. Everyone knows my story, Elijah continued, years of silence finally breaking. Everyone knows what happened at the Blue Sky mine. You just pretend not to because Calloway's money keeps this town alive. That's ancient history, Whitaker said, but with less conviction. Not to me. Elijah straightened his shoulders. And not to Jasper. Who is he to you? One of the men asked. Someone who understands justice. Whitaker spat on the ground. You've got until morning to clear out. Both of you. Or we'll do it for you. They left, and Elijah leaned against his doorframe, suddenly exhausted. He kept his head down for 5 years, swallowing his anger, his sense of injustice. Now, in the span of 3 days, a stranger with scorpions for a beard had upended everything. He found Jasper at the edge of town, sitting on a rock, watching the sunset paint the hills gold. They're coming for us, Elijah said without preamble. Jasper nodded. I expected as much. Calloway's offering a reward. He knows I'm here. Then, we should leave. Jasper turned to him, the scorpions on his face eerily still in the fading light. Is that what you want? To run again? The question struck Elijah like a physical blow. I didn't run. I had nowhere else to go. You've been hiding in plain sight, cutting the hair of men who know what happened to you and pretending it doesn't matter. Elijah's fists clenched. What choice did I have? The same choice you have now. Jasper stood. Face what happened or continue to let it haunt you. Easy for you to say. You wear your sins on your face. Everyone can see what you are. And what are you, Elijah? What do people see when they look at you? Nothing, Elijah whispered. They see nothing. Jasper's hand rested on his shoulder. Tomorrow I'm going to visit Calloway. He owes me a debt, just as he owes you. You can come with me, or you can leave town. Your choice. The next morning dawned clear and cold. Elijah opened his shop as usual, though he expected no customers. He sharpened his razors, swept the floor, and waited. Jasper arrived at noon, dressed in his cleanest clothes, the scorpions on his face arranged in a pattern that almost looked regal. You're still here, he observed. Nowhere else to go, Elijah replied. Will you come with me to see Calloway? Elijah hesitated. 5 years of silence weighed against a lifetime of regret. What will happen? I don't know, Jasper admitted. But whatever happens, it will be an ending. Or a beginning. Better than this limbo you've been living in. Elijah nodded slowly. Let me get my coat. Calloway's house stood on a hill overlooking the town, a 2-story monstrosity with pillars and stained glass windows. Built on the blood and sweat of men like Elijah, men whose dreams had been crushed beneath Calloway's boot. They were met at the door by a servant who eyed Jasper's face with poorly concealed horror. Mr. Calloway is expecting you, he said, leading them to a study lined with books Elijah doubted Calloway had ever read. Edward Calloway had aged well. His hair was silver now, but his face remained unlined, his body robust. The only sign of his 60 years was a slight tremor in his hands as he poured himself a whiskey. Jasper, he said, not offering them a drink. You look, well, you remember my face, then, Jasper said. Hard to forget. Calloway's eyes shifted to Elijah. And you brought my barber? How thoughtful. Your barber. Elijah echoed. Everyone in this town works for me, one way or another. Calloway sat behind his desk. Now, what can I do for you gentlemen? I'm a busy man. You know why I'm here, Jasper said. It's time to settle our debt. Calloway's smile didn't reach his eyes. Ancient history, my friend. Water under the bridge. Not to her. Jasper touched the largest scorpion on his face, which seemed to pulse beneath his fingers. Not to Rebecca. The name hung in the air. Calloway's face hardened. Rebecca made her choice, he said. She chose you over her family. Over me. What happened after was her own doing. You drove her to it. Jasper's voice was dangerously soft. You took everything from her, her inheritance, her home, her good name, because she loved me instead of the man you chose for her. She was my sister. I knew what was best for her. She's dead because of you. Jasper stepped forward. Just like Sarah is dead because of you. Calloway's eyes darted to Elijah. That was business. Nothing personal. It was personal to me, Elijah said, finding his voice at last. You stole my claim. My future. Sarah died waiting for me to come home. The weak don't survive out here, Calloway said dismissively. I did what anyone would have done. No, Jasper said. You did what a man without conscience would do. And now it's time to pay. The scorpions on his face began to move, becoming more agitated. Calloway's eyes widened. What do you want? He asked, fear finally creeping into his voice. Money? I can pay you both. I want justice, Jasper said. For Rebecca. For Sarah. For everyone you've wronged. And how will you get that? By killing me. Calloway laughed nervously. They'll hang you both. No one's going to die today, Jasper said. But you are going to confess. To everything. The mine collapse. The stolen claims. Rebecca's inheritance. All of it. Never, Calloway spat. Jasper reached up and plucked the largest scorpion from his face. It writhed between his fingers, tail poised to strike. This is Rebecca, he said softly. She's been waiting a long time for this moment. He placed the scorpion on the desk. It scuttled toward Calloway, who pushed his chair back in alarm. The venom won't kill you, Jasper said. But you'll wish it had. It brings every pain you've ever inflicted on others back to you. Every tear, every cry, every moment of despair, you'll feel it all. You're bluffing, Calloway whispered, but his face had gone pale. Am I? Jasper plucked another scorpion from his face. This one is for the miners who died in your collapsed tunnels. Shall we see what their pain feels like? The second scorpion joined the first. Then a third. A fourth. Stop, Calloway said, his voice breaking. What do you want me to do? Write it all down, Elijah said, surprising himself. Every claim you stole. Every man you cheated. Every life you ruined. Sign it and give it to the sheriff. I'll be ruined. Yes, Jasper agreed. Just like all the people you've ruined. That's the point. Calloway looked from the advancing scorpions to the two men standing before him. And if I do this, you'll leave me in peace? We will, Jasper said. But your conscience might not. With shaking hands, Calloway pulled paper from his desk and began to write. An hour later, they watched from across the street as Calloway entered the sheriff's office, confession in hand. Within minutes, a crowd began to gather as word spread through town. What happens now? Elijah asked. Justice, of a sort, Jasper replied. The law will take its course. Calloway will lose his fortune, possibly his freedom. The people he wronged may get some restitution. And Rebecca? Does she get justice? Jasper touched his cheek, where the largest scorpion had been. There was only smooth skin now. She can rest. And so can I, at least a little. Elijah noticed that several other scorpions had also disappeared from Jasper's face. They're gone. Debt's paid, Jasper said simply. Not all, but some. What about me? What justice do I get? That depends on what you do next. Elijah looked around at the town he'd hidden in for 5 years. I don't know if I can stay here. Then don't. The world is wide, Elijah. Find a place where you can be more than just a barber. Where you can be yourself. And you? Where will you go? Jasper smiled, his face still strange with its remaining scorpions, but somehow less frightening now. Wherever the next debt takes me. I have many still to pay. They parted at the edge of town the next morning. Elijah with his razor and a few possessions in a satchel, Jasper with his coat and his living beard. Thank you, Elijah said, for helping me find my voice again. We all need reminders of who we really are, Jasper replied. Some more visible than others. They shook hands and went their separate ways, Jasper east toward the rising sun, Elijah west toward the promise of the coast. 3 months later, Elijah opened a new barber shop in San Francisco. It was larger than his old place, with 2 chairs instead of 1. On the wall, he hung a single photograph, not of a clean-shaven customer, but of himself, standing tall and looking directly at the camera. And on a small shelf behind the counter, in a glass jar with air holes punched in the lid, lived a single scorpion. Not one of Jasper's, but one Elijah had found on his journey west. He kept it fed and watered, and sometimes, when the shop was empty, he would talk to it. To remind me, he would explain to curious customers. Of debts paid and debts owed. Of the person I want to be. Most thought him eccentric. A few understood. And on quiet evenings, when the sun set over the Pacific and cast long shadows through his shop window, Elijah would wonder where Jasper was, how many scorpions remained on his face, and whether any of us ever truly balance our scales.